Okay, with this design of puzzle, this style of puzzle, we have basically two layers of plywood that make up the housing for the puzzle, and then all the multiple pieces that go inside. And there's many different ways you can do this. You can use different shapes, you could use different material for the pieces of the puzzle inside, you can engrave designs on there with the laser, you could even change, instead of having straight lines in here, you could make it more like a traditional style puzzle with using the spline tool to add interlocking pieces. So basically what we need to do to start is make the housing in Fusion 360, and we also need to use Adobe Illustrator to create an SVG file that we use to create this outline shape. In this instance it's an elephant, but you could pretty much use any shape as long as it's very simple and it's only an outline. So step number one is to find the image that you're going to use. This in itself can be quite problematic, so you need to be careful which type you choose. I'm going to use a bear, and I'm going to type in bear silhouette so that I get something that's just an outline shape rather than a standard picture of a bear. Here's the silhouette images for bears, and I'm going to click on a nice simple one that doesn't have too much detail. These ones with the small fingers, this one here with the hair hanging down, and also the watermark here, they are no good, they will not work. And again, this one here, it's too intricate and there's too much opportunity there for it to get damaged. And also when you make your puzzle, it could be difficult to slot the pieces in, so you want something a bit more smooth around the edges like this one here. So I'm going to first of all click on the image and then say view image, and I'm just going to right click and copy this image into Adobe Illustrator first of all. So I'm going to start a new Adobe Illustrator project by going to File, New, keep everything as it is on the screen and just say OK, and then just say Command V to insert the bear. Once it's on the page, we need to outline trace it, and the way we're going to do that is click on Image Trace, or actually click the arrow next to Image Trace and select Silhouettes. That's now traced the image, and then I'm going to expand everything so that I have separate image and line around the edge, and then I'm going to reverse it. So at the moment the bear is filled with black and the line around the edge is transparent. If I click these two arrows, it will reverse the process so that the fill is transparent and the line is black, and you can see now I have the bear on the screen. This is ready to be exported as an SVG file, so all I need to do this is go to File, Save As, choose SVG from the bottom menu, and choose a name, something that you'll remember. I've got a few different bear files, so I'm going to call this bear 10, save it on the desktop, and I'm going to click Save. The following options you can just leave as they are and say OK. And then in Fusion we need to start making the puzzle. So if we look back to the first image that I showed you at the start, the puzzle that we're trying to create should have two layers. The first one is just going to be the base of the puzzle, so I'm going to do a rectangle instead of a square this time because my image needs more of a rectangle. So I'm going to say create sketch, choose the rectangle tool, and I'm going to draw it on the flat work plane. And you need to think carefully about how big you want your puzzle to be. Whatever size you make this is the size that your puzzle will end up. So I'm going to make mine 150 by typing 150, hit the tab key on the keyboard to go across to the other dimension, and then type in 250. If you've drawn the rectangle and you're not happy with the sizes, or let me just show you a different way of doing it, I'll delete that one. Undo. If you've drawn your rectangle and you weren't happy with it, or you weren't able to make the sizes correct, if you've just drawn, for example, something like this, and then you realise, oh, the sizes are wrong, simply go to Sketch, Sketch Dimension, click the base, I'm going to make that 250, hit Return, click this part, I'm going to make that 150, hit Return. Now that I'm done, I'm going to say Stop Sketch, and I'm going to say Create Extrude. Now it's crucial that we change the angle slightly here so we can see the extrusion take place. So I use the orbit tool at the base, spin the screen round slightly using the mouse, ensure you hit escape so that we're not still in orbit mode, and then I'm going to extrude this profile 4mm thick because that's how thick my plywood is. Then I'm going to say OK, and this gives me my base, but at the moment this is not a component, so we first of all need to transform this into a component. To do this, find the body that makes it up. Is really easy to do because there's only one so far. Right click the body and say create component, and then I'm going to call that base. If you want to, you can right click and choose your appearance tool and change this to some sort of wood by dragging it on, just to keep you right so that you know that this is your wooden base. I'm now going to create the layer of plywood that sits on top of the base. So if you imagine with this elephant example here, there's a layer on top with the elephant shape cut out. Here's one that I prepared earlier in Fusion just to give you an idea of what it might look like. So I've got the rectangle with the bear shape cut out. I'm going to create this in situ on top of the base in this file here. So I'm going to right click, unsaved, and say create new component. This is going to be called ply layer or cut ply layer. And I'm going to draw a rectangle on top of this layer, and it needs to be exactly the same shape and size. So I'm just going to copy that rectangle and say stop sketch, and then create an extrusion of 4mm again. Repeat the process with the appearance, so right click, appearance, drag your material on, say close, and as you can see I've got two components here. The bottom one, the base one, is sort of semi-translucent because I'm not working on it currently. The top one is the active component, so it's the one that's more visible. I'll just demonstrate what happens if we activate everything at the top, activate component. You can see that both pieces are now clearly visible, and then I can individually work on one or the other by selecting them on the left hand side in the browser bar. I need to edit the cut ply section on top, and I need to add the SVG file to the top here. So I'm going to select that so that it's in play, click insert, and I'm going to choose SVG file, which is this one here, and then I'm going to select the top piece, and now it's just a case of finding that file that we created, which for me was called Bear 10, which is right here. I'm going to open that up, and as you can see it's not quite the right size, so I'm going to use this little object here to shrink it, and then I'll use this one to move it. It's still a little bit big. I'll shrink it some more, move it into position. I know it's upside down, but we'll fix that in a second. Move it so it's right in the center, and then I'm going to say OK, stop sketch, and now I use my view cube just to spin that round, get it into a better angle, and then I'm going to say create extrude, select the bear profile, and I'm going to choose -4 this time so that it cuts into the material, and as you can see I now have my bear shape, like so. This gives us the two layers of plywood, and if I activate everything here you can see that I have both layers, and I now have the shape for the pieces of the bear to be inserted in. To insert the bear to create the bear pieces, what I need to do first of all is decide how I'm going to do that. In the example with the elephant, the pieces just have straight lines. This is the easier method. However, you could also do it with traditional interlocking pieces as well. So I'm going to create my first jigsaw piece over on this side where the head is. So I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say new component, and I'm going to say sketch, create sketch, and I need to choose this surface here, so the top surface of the puzzle, if you like. So I'm going to click there. It's automatically spun it round, so I'm going to just spin it back round, and then I'm going to right click, and I'm going to say set current view as top, and that should keep it the right way around now. I'm then going to use the line tool, so sketch line, and I'm just going to draw a line from here to here. I then should be able to say stop sketch, create extrude, and then select this head profile as my first piece ready for extruding. Now, I've accidentally selected the whole body there, so I'm going to deselect it by clicking again. And as you can see, if I type in my 4mm here, it's going to create the head, but as you can see the head is protruding up from the jigsaw instead of going down. So I'm going to type in -4, like so, and I'm going to say OK. And this is the first component of my jigsaw. The head is finished. So I'm going to right click on here, and I'm going to say, sorry, not right click, I'm just going to click it. I'm going to call it head, or rather just block 1 or piece 1, like so. That's me finished the first piece of my jigsaw. I could change the colour of that if I want to. You can decide whether you want to use plywood or if you'd rather use a nice piece of frosted acrylic or translucent acrylic. So to change it, I'm just going to drag colour onto the head. I'm going to activate the whole file now, and as you can see, I've got 3 components: the base, the cut ply layer, and the head. I'm now going to create another piece of the jigsaw here, and to do that I'm going to say right click, new component, sketch, create sketch, and I'm going to do it on the top surface again. And I'm going to use my line tool, and this time I'm going to go from here down to there, but I'm actually going to make it a bit smaller by drawing a piece across to here, and then I'll use my trim tool, so sketch, trim, delete that segment, and then I'm going to say stop sketch, create extrude. Now it looks as though I might have a slight problem here which I might need to change. When I want to extrude, you can see it's also choosing the initial head part as well. This is an easy fix. I'm going to cancel the extrusion and I'm going to press back to get back into my sketch. You can see the sketch palette has appeared here, and I'm just going to add some more geometry. So using the sketch project tool, I'm going to project the line that's already there and this one as well. 1, 2, 3. That way I should now be able to select that as a profile separate from the rest of the head, because otherwise my head piece would be joined onto my second block. So create extrude. As you can see this time, because of the additional geometry I've added, they are now separate. So I'm going to right click, -4 as the extrusion, choose appearance, and I'm going to make this a completely different colour. The colours can all be changed at a later date as well. This is just to keep them separate at the moment so I can see what's what. I'm now going to right click, or sorry, not right click, but left click on the top file, and I now have 4 components, and I'm going to change this one to block 2. You can repeat this process over and over again until you have filled up the entire bear shape. If you are interested in doing interlocking traditional style puzzle pieces, this is how you would do it. Right click, new component, sketch, create sketch, top surface as before. This time, instead of using the straight line tool, you're going to use the spline tool, and you can start from the edge of the bear and use the spline tool to carefully create an interlocking design. So I'm just adding a number of clicks here to draw what I think is a jigsaw shape, like so, and then double click back on the edge of the bear, sketch, project, and I'll project some of this section of the puzzle here. Once I'm finished, say OK, stop sketch, spin that around so that I can see what I'm doing, create extrude, select that profile, -4, say OK, right click appearance, choose something different once again, and close. Activate the whole component, and we can see that that is now a more traditional style piece.